Call your senators. This is not a drill. It is time to take action. What little of it we can. The lines will be busy. The voicemails will be full, but keep on calling your senators. Each state has 2 senators, regardless of party affiliation. Call your senators. Donald Trump has nominated a cabinet of woefully underqualified secretaries. After Barack Obama's election to the White House, the GOP moved to resist and obstruct any and all platforms presented by the Democrats via the creation and subsequent rise of the Tea Party. They showed up at town hall meetings. They were loud and boisterous at city council and school board meetings. They pushed a local agenda in protest that enabled them to win the Senate and the House in 2010. They did not seek to be nice or cooperate. Now, in the face of the Senate confirmations for Trump's cabinet, we can follow their precedent. This is not about bolstering the Democrat Party, where many of them have disappointingly fell in line, like Senator Elizabeth Warren and Sherrod Brown. That's actually a white man from Ohio, y'all. Both announcing their support for Dr. Ben Carson as a Secretary of the Housing and Urban Development. A retired neurosurgeon who turned down the offer to be Secretary of Health and Human Services because, as his business manager Armstrong Williams stated,
Dr. Carson feels he has no government experience. He's never run a federal agency. The last thing he would want to do was take a position that will cripple the presidency.
Call your senators. A cabinet nominee has not been flat out rejected since 1989. Though the past 3 administrations all have had nominees who withdrew due to conflicts of interest and public pressure. Your voice matters, and calling your senator about cabinet Senate confirmations is just the beginning. Call your senators. Rex Tillerson, a former ExxonMobil executive, is up for Secretary of State. That's the department that oversees almost all of our foreign policy. Tillerson will potentially be the first Secretary of State with no military or political experience. This is not a draining of the swamp. This is instilling an oil tycoon who has very close relationships with Russia as the overseer of our military, embassies, and immigration. The Middle East, Iran, Israel, and Palestine. The expertise and diplomacy that is needed to navigate very fragile ground. Chaos builds profit for a very small sector. The Trump and Kushner clan is set to profit off of our downfall. Call your senators. Betsy DeVos for Secretary of Department of Education is the biggest threat to anyone who has children, school loans, and any affiliation with education, whether through career or matriculation in the United States. That basically means every last one of us should be concerned that a woman who has no education experience, herself nor her children, have never attended public school, filled out a FAFSA, or taken out a federal loan to cover education costs. Let's be clear here. Neither Republicans nor Democrats are saints when it comes to the Department of Education. Setting federal law that meets the needs of each and every child in every city and every county in every state is a slippery slope, and DeVos doesn't have the skill to even mount the slope. When questioned by Senator Maggie Hassan about the Individual with Disabilities in Education Act, otherwise known as IDEA, DeVos was unaware of the 42-year-old federal law. This is a law that everyone who studies pedagogy learns at the beginning of their courses. When Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut questioned DeVos about the right to bear firearms on school property, DeVos suggested that schools should decide because some use them to protect against grizzly bears.
Can't say definitively today that guns shouldn't be in schools.
Well, I will refer back to Senator Enzi and the school that he was talking about in Wapiti, Wyoming. I think probably there, I would imagine that there's probably a gun in the school to protect from potential grizzlies.
Call your senators and inform them that this is not about partisan politics, but about protecting our children's rights to a fulfilling education that prepares them to be better citizens. That in the spirit of John Dewey, DeVos is a direct threat to the education and democracy. Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. I don't even know where to begin or end with this man, who has sat in the Senate and heavily obstructed the gains of the civil rights movement. He has opposed nearly every immigration bill that has come before the Senate. In 1986, his own ranks denied him a federal judgeship because he was too racist. In 1986, in the era of Reagan. Under Obama, the Justice Department began steps to reform the militarization of police, and under Sessions, Godspeed. I don't have much to say here because Sessions has a very long-standing record in the Senate and is in line with much of the far-right populist views that the Republicans have taken on. This honestly might be an effort in futility, but a concern that should be voiced. Nonetheless, call your senators. Tom Price, the Secretary for Health and Human Services, with the pending repeal of the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, we are bracing ourselves for the fallout, and maybe some of us aren't, because we got health insurance through our employer, or we lived in the mostly southern GOP-controlled states that shredded as much of the ACA as they could, meaning residents of Texas or Georgia or Alabama never got to experience the more robust benefits of the ACA. But the fallout will be real, will be detrimental, and it will be costly. Moreover, the policing of women's reproductive rights that I can't believe is still a thing. Tom Price owns healthcare stocks and has a clear conflict of interest that is abundant throughout the Trump administration. Check those conflicts of interest. He opposes gun control and gay marriage and the birth control mandate because all women can afford birth control on their own. Or at least that's what Tom Price says. Tom Price is set to profit off the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. He has no care or concern for the rights of women, rather relying on the skewing of dogmatic principles. And health access is the easiest way to further oppress. Call your senators. Be polite, concise, and clear with your message. If and when these candidates are confirmed into the cabinet, follow up with your senators and your House representatives who are more likely to be active on the ground in your state. And contact the reps from your state's Senate. The more local, the more access, the more power you wield as an active member of your community. So let's start with calling your senator and staying attuned. I'm here to help.